that. Other than contributing to the DNC, other than voting a certain platform, is there anything that a layperson, like we here today, can do, lay people, to every day in, day out, to curtail, to combat what's being done to roll back these voting rights?
Thank you for that question. I am, of course, deeply disappointed that the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act did not pass in the U.S. Senate. It is something that has passed in prior years over and over again on a bipartisan basis. So that was really rough. I went down to the floor when the Senate was taking up that bill and there to support Senators Warnock and Ossoff, as they fought to try to get that through the Senate. So I can say though, I don't give up, and I am not about to give up now. And if you look at the story of hard fights in our past, civil rights movement, all of the progressive movement, all of them, they didn't happen in 2 years or 3 years, they took decades. And I'm not saying to be complacent, I'm just saying do not give up. We do not give up, we do not stop. And, I have brought litigation around voting rights issues to stop voter suppression in Gwinnett County. In 2020, I ran a huge voter protection effort in Gwinnett County, and as a layperson, one, of course, is to keep pushing your elected officials to pass these laws to protect the vote. But every election, we are also marching. It is working at the polls. It is being a poll watcher. It is making sure that we fight for every single vote. And so that's what I encourage you to do, and I assure you that I am doing that with all of my heart.
In reference to your CRT questions, I'm like the gentleman on the podium. I don't know what it means. Critical race theory. And I think sometimes it's the words or the titles or phrases we give to some of our social issues that scare one. I remember, I'm from Michigan. Yay, Michigan. I had a chance to sit in on domestic abuse, social drug situations. And you see it on TV, you see a group and they sit around like you guys are sitting around. And someone that's in charge of a particular encounter group stands up and say, denial is the biggest weapon against realizing what it is you're there for, what you're going through. So the first thing they do is they ask everyone to stand up and declare publicly who you are and what reason you're here. One of the things I think that's missing in our society on both the white and the black spectrum is this here. Denial based on self-guilt. I'm 69 years old. I'm the oldest male in my family. I've got skeletons in our closet, y'all, that I'm beginning to be made aware of. Do I hide them, try to sweep them under the rug? If you continually sweep things under the rug gets so tall it becomes a monument. And you either praise it or you're in fear of it and you run away from it. So my suggestion is that what we need to do, not wait once a year during the month of February for this race issue. As the gentleman said, start in our homes. We've got children right now that are ready to vote. But what do they vote for? Because the history that we've shown them is there's no change coming to America. We are in charge of navigating this next generation to this peaceful utopia that we all dream of. Martin Luther King, he wasn't just speaking from a dream, but he was speaking from real life experiences. And whether you're black or white, we all have this one experience. My eyes have seen, my ears have heard. Deep in the heart of my conscience have I been affected. So we that are here in the year 2022, it's no different than 1912. We're still bombarded by the same thing. So I think if we start first with the re-examination and an intervention of ourselves first, what have I done to promote racism, or what have I done to stem the cause of racism? And be the first one to stand up. I Dennis Washington. I don't understand white people. I barely understand me. I look in the mirror every morning and I say, okay, tell me a little bit more about yourself. If we can start with ourselves first, and then be courageous enough to speak to our children, to our church members, on our job, speaking. And then when next year come around, we won't sit here like deer in headlights, like I didn't know this was going on, because we do know what's going on. So my first thing is I think we should do is become an intervention of ourselves and stand up and declare, I'm guilty. And what makes us guilty is because we have the DNA of those who went before us and caused these calamities to come, or we can say we're the champion of what's to come in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Rachel Dursky. Oh. Okay, good, very good. That's it, right? All right. Well, I want to hear from you about what you foresee in Forsyth County. You know, you and I talked. I just want you to share what you hope to get from Forsyth County. What do you hope that Forsyth County will become?
I'd like to see it continue to become
Put you on the spot all the time.
it's become more diverse in the 20 years I've been there, and the leadership is slow to become diverse. In the school system, it's been very slow, and the education piece about the history is so upsetting that it's missing. And we've heard that it was going to be there in the past, and then it stopped, and it's not recent, it's been a while. And because it was going to be included in the education, in the 8th grade teacher history immediately, in 2020, and then it stopped when it did, right when everything else was happening. It
Right.
makes me feel like, we have a long way to go. And of course we have a long way to go, but, we've had a few events for Juneteenth. We've had 2 events, 2 years in a row where we invited anyone who would like to speak about what it's like to live as a person of color in Forsyth, if they would like to. And we've invited as many people as we can get there, because there are many people that will tell you that there's no racism in Forsyth. They will tell you that to your face, and they believe it. And I mean, I can say as a white person, I have not faced lots of racism in Forsyth, so that makes sense. But if you don't know black people who will tell you that they face racism, then you can live in a bubble, and you can continue to deny that it's happening.
Right. So, for your leader from the Historical Preservation Committee, what, in light of all the other evidences that we see and hear in the community, can we expect from you all? And what aid do you need from us to make sure we push your agenda a little bit more forward? Thank you, Rachel. Yes. I'm sorry, the Remembrance Project, I'm sorry. Yes. And then the Historical Society, if you will.
I think first of all, I'm a teacher, so I'm careful in public on what I say because of repercussion of being a teacher in Forsyth County. That's to you.
We got openings in Buford.
No, maybe I should drink.
Yeah.
I agree with Rachel. Extreme extremely disappointed that we can't teach our own county's history. What does that say about our county right away? But I think we have to teach children that Black history isn't Black history, it's American history, because it made a difference for all of us. I'm biracial, you wouldn't know that from looking at me, but I'm half Spanish, so like if MLK hadn't come through and fought for all civil rights, I wouldn't be in the places, I wouldn't be a teacher either, right?
Sure.
Yes.
But we also have to teach children that slavery never ended. We just called it something different, right? We went from slavery to indentured servants to Jim Crow to redlining, slavery. I was a juvenile, I was a teacher in juvenile prison. So I've been with those kids. I've seen what can happen when someone doesn't step in to say, this is what's happened, and we can't change it, but we can do things to make other people aware. And if we're not teaching children, we're just letting this pattern continue.
Yes, yes.
Like it's going to stop on its own. It's not. Anyone that's seen the news knows that nothing's going to stop on its own. Books aren't our problem. People that are, I don't want to say ignorant, but uneducated, if you know better, do better. And so that's what we're trying to do with our Juneteenth events. And she's right, there's been lots of people that we called. I want to say we called 20, maybe 30 people the first time asking to be on a panel. And we got 12 that felt comfortable enough to tell their truth. So helping for us is, I used to say we're just a group of white women, but we're more than just a group, because I've learned that, especially where we live, we have a stronger voice as allies to speak up, because it's safe for us. I don't fear someone doing something to me in a public setting. I know none of us do, but we have friends that do. So being a voice whenever we can, we want to make sure history is taught in education. That would be fantastic. We have panels, having people volunteer to come and speak at our panels. We want to move on to help clean up the cemeteries that have been forgotten about in the county, so that descendants can come back and see where their descendants and loved ones are at rest, and that they have a proper place, a sense of peace, because I don't think they have that, right? So they need a sense of peace and calming. And I don't think any of us actually were born or raised in Forsyth County. We've all been transplanted into that, and we all learned the history together. Oprah Winfrey, I was 5, I wasn't watching Oprah. I had no idea when I moved to Forsyth County what I was getting into, until my friends from Nashville said, we won't come visit you because we're Black and it's not safe to be there. And I had no idea what they were talking about. So just knowing there's forums like this and people talking and feeling the same, and descendants willing to speak, is huge for us. If you could get a random call for us to be on a panel, please don't tell us that. we love how that's
Let me ask a white question.
Sure.
Of a white person. Do you feel embarrassed that it happened, or do you just wish it hadn't happened? How's your heart feeling? I got a friend, Gabe, who's Nigerian, and he told me one day we were out, he said, listen, nobody ever asked us how we felt after you all were taken away from us in Nigeria. Nobody ever asked Motherland, our parents, foreparents, how they felt when you were taken away. So, you know, can you imagine a child being taken away and put on a ship, you never see them again? Don't know what happened to them. But here again, I'm just asking because I want somebody to tell me from your heart, how do you really feel as it relates to what took place in Forsyth County in 1912?
Sure. I don't know if I'd say embarrassed. I think I'd say more shameful. That there's such a lack of human decency and humanity, which is why I've taught my own children. That's not what they are. I feel like if it doesn't make you uncomfortable or challenge you, it can't change you. So this whole white people shouldn't be made to feel guilty. Yeah, you should. Like, while I didn't do it directly, obviously ancestors have done this, and there should be some guilt and shame in how we've treated other people that are the same of us besides melatonin in our skin. So yes, I would say shame, but I'm more shameful that we don't acknowledge what happened and we just turn a blind eye, because then we are repeating what's already been done. It can't get better until we acknowledge what it is. And the whole, we're colorblind, I think makes it worse. We shouldn't be colorblind. If anything, we used to call it color brave or color aware. We should celebrate those differences, not say that we don't see them, because they're obvious, whether you're face-to-face or watching the media, those are obvious changes to be celebrated, not pushed to the side. So.
Good. Good, thank you.